restructuring distress generally involves a forced transaction. Not everyone wants to be there, so you're taking a valuation at a point in time that's not necessarily of everyone's choosing. So your sort of general assumptions about willing buyer, willing seller are not necessarily true. In terms of techniques, very similar to traditional M&A or capital markets. You're looking at DCF, net present values, comparable companies, comparable transactions. I think the key difference is not everyone is necessarily a winning party in that transaction, and you have to build that into your valuation analysis. But I think you have to bear in mind a couple of things. One is the valuation that's relevant is driven by the particular jurisdiction and legal system you're in. So a good example, US typically looks at the long-term underlying value of a business, an NPV type valuation in a distressed scenario. There are other, typically European, for example, jurisdictions where it's much more akin to enforcing your security on a house. You've got a mortgage. It's what cash can you receive on that day, and they're very different answers. So it's the legal envelope. It's also potentially the dynamics of the owners of the distressed assets. If they have to sell because they can't continue to own those assets, then again you're not really able to support the willing buyer, willing seller valuation. It leads to typically a lower number. The thing that I found most interesting is not necessarily the areas where we've all got very similar views on growth outlooks, the troubles in Southern Europe, etc. It's where there are perhaps areas that I don't look at on a regular day-to-day professional basis, and the area that perhaps springs to mind most was Africa and the investment opportunity there, the growth prospects in Africa, the focus on the 4 key African geographies. Personally, I found that interesting because it's not something I look at or think about very often. I hope that other people found the bits that I talk about that they perhaps don't think about equally interesting, but that would be the thing for me.